All right, today I want to talk with you about another aspect of joint ventures because a lot of business owners think that it's difficult to get joint venture partners. And I hear them saying things like, I don't have a large network, or I'm not good at meeting people, or I don't know anyone to partner with. And I used to think the same thing myself, and to be totally candid with you, I was one of the most shy people that you'd ever meet. I mean, I was not one of these people who enjoyed networking. I didn't like to go to networking events. I was not comfortable in reaching out to other people, and quite honestly, that's actually what led me to develop the JV Jedi process in the first place. And in fact, I did my very first joint venture back in June of 2007 with a friend of mine named Mike Crow. And Mike and I, we'd actually known each other for quite some time. So in this very first instance of my first joint venture, it was very comfortable because, like I said, Mike was a friend of mine. And quite honestly, I'd never even considered doing joint ventures at that time. I was using technology. I was using the internet to grow my business. But because I said, like I said, Mike and I had been friends for some time, and we were just at an event. We were catching up with each other, finding out what each of us had been up to since we last spoke. And I was giving Mike an update, and he was like, Kev, I should introduce you to my home inspectors. And I'm thinking, like, really? I was like, I really didn't think that they would be interested in what I have to offer because, I was showing people how to use technology, how to use the internet in order to leverage their efforts, grow their business, that kind of stuff. But I thought, that home inspectors already having a business in place, already having success, they wouldn't necessarily be interested in what I had to offer. But Mike, he thought they would. So we did this joint venture, and I will tell you what, it worked out incredibly well. I mean, we made a lot of income, as we should have, because we provided a lot of value to his audience, his home inspectors. But the thing is that it was an eye-opening experience for me. And it definitely let me know, after having incredible results like that, I knew that I wanted to do more joint ventures. But in order to do that, I also knew that I would have to come up with a process that would attract more great partners to me. Because the fact is, I didn't want to be the one who was continually having to be out there trying to chase down the next joint venture project. I wanted projects to come to me naturally, just like that project with Mike did. And see, like I said, that's what led me to creating this JV Jedi process and now sharing it with people like yourself, because there's 4 big mistakes that people make when trying to get joint ventures to help them grow their business or what have you. I want to go over those 4 big mistakes with you. And the first big mistake is thinking that you have to be some kind of a networking genius, because the fact is that you absolutely don't. When you have a process like this in place, it does the bulk of the work for you. And what you end up with is people naturally wanting to get in touch with you, to collaborate with you, to have discussions with you so that you can both work together and put your best foot forward to do some incredible things as a team. Okay. The second big mistake is thinking that all your partner cares about is money. And I'm going to share a little story with you. And I can't reveal who it is that I'm talking about in this story because he's a very influential person. But I can tell you that I was having a conversation with this gentleman. And at the time, he had just left his CEO position with a major company. In fact, he'd been in that position for 3 years. Prior to that 3 years, they had used him as a consultant. Then they brought him in-house and made him a CEO. And that company experienced massive growth during that time period that he was CEO. And a lot of it was using a process that he'd created. And in this process, he knew that he can help a lot more business owners by sharing this process. And so he stepped down from his role as CEO with that company. And of course, he's still consulting with them, but he started out on a new venture wanting to share this process of his that's very unique with a lot of other business owners. And we were talking about this, and he was like, Kev, he said, I got to tell you, when it comes to joint ventures, I know you've been doing this for years. I know you're an expert at it, but here's the thing. He's like, if I look at what I've got going on now, and I look at the relationships I've created over the years, I've got relationships spanning back 10 years. But the thing is if I were to reach out to them and ask them to, do a joint venture with me and help me promote what I'm doing, my fear would be that if we didn't get the kind of results we'd hoped for, that relationship would somehow be damaged. And that's the last thing that I would want to do, is damage that relationship. And I totally got where he was coming from. And I said, okay, you know what? I get that. I totally understand where you're coming from, but let me point something out to you. Let me ask you this. Let's go ahead. Let's think about one of those people that you know, and consider this. If you were to reach out to them and you were just to share with them what you had going on, and let them know that, like, what? I think you're in a great position where you can help me get my message out there. And if we were to collaborate on this, and we were to, use, our pool our efforts, if you will, and be able to introduce this to other people, and you kind of basically talked with them about what you wanted to do you think that they would respond to you and say, okay, yeah, I'll do a project with you, but all right, come on, how much money am I going to make? I was like, do you think they're going to respond that way? And he's like, no, absolutely not. They're not going to respond that way at all. And I was like, you're right. They're not, are they? They're absolutely not going to respond that way. And so I said, so now you start collaborating together. You do this project. You both put your very best foot forward. And in the end, only one of three things can possibly happen. You're going to get the results that you'd hoped for. You're going to get not as good a results as you hoped for, or you're going to get better than the results that you'd hoped for. And so at a minimum, you got a 66% chance of getting the results you'd hoped for or better. But let's just say that you got less than the results that you'd hoped for. Do you think that after going through that process, that your partner, the person that you're thinking about, do you think that your relationship is going to be damaged with them at all? And he's like, no, Kev, it wouldn't. And in that moment, I saw the light bulb go off inside his head, and he got it. And he's like, Kevin, he's like, I get it. Now I understand what you're talking about. And he actually went on to let me know, he's like, Kevin, I don't know if this is something you're interested in, but the company I just was CEO with, you are the kind of person that we would hire as a consultant. If you're ever open to that, that's an avenue you could take. But see, it really let me know too, talking, and I've talked with countless people like that, entrepreneurs, business owners, and every time we get into a discussion about this joint venture process that I've figured out, people have eye-opening, light bulb go on moments like that all the time. So that's the second big mistake. The third big mistake is, not thinking or looking outside of your niche or the space that you actually work in. And we're actually going to be covering this in much more detail in the next video I'm going to be sharing with you. But I will let you know that most people, most business owners, most entrepreneurs, they spend time with people inside the space that they're working in, whatever space they're in, whatever niche they're in, they hang out and spend time with and get to know people also in that space. And it never even dawns on them to step outside of that space. And so that's a huge mistake. And we're going to be, like I said, addressing that on the next video that I share with you. The fourth big mistake is thinking that you continually have to chase down joint venture partners, rather than having a process that naturally attracts partners who are a perfect match and fit, who are A-list people just like you, who want to do incredible things, who want to collaborate with like-minded people. And when you have a process for attracting those A-list people, you're not chasing them down at all. In fact, all you're doing is you've got a system in place that lets them know about you, the value that you bring to the table, how you might be able to work and collaborate together. And all of a sudden, you end up with a line of people wanting to work and collaborate with you. And since 2007, I have done hundreds of joint venture projects, and it's earned myself the reputation as the JV Jedi. And I'll tell you, I have documented this incredibly successful process for you. And if it's something that you believe that you'd get value from, I would love to share it with you on my free JV Jedi webinar. And there's a link right here on this page that you can click and you can register for that event. And there's no charge for it. And I can assure you, you are going to get so much value from this webinar. And I'm sharing this process with you for two specific reasons. The first reason is that so many of my partners have told me that this process has the power to completely transform the way that joint ventures are done. And I firmly believe them. I totally agree with that this does have that kind of transformational power. And it's so exciting for me to think about the ripple effect that's going to come from this and how many millions of dollars in value will be created as a result of that. The second reason, and for those of you who are already running successful businesses, but you haven't yet capitalized on joint ventures, or maybe you just haven't had the kind of results and kind of success that you'd really like to experience with joint ventures. Well, this simple process, it's going to open up a whole new world for you, and it's going to take your business to the next level. So as I said, go ahead, get registered for that free webinar that I'm offering you, and I look forward to sharing this JV Jedi process with you. You just click on that link, and then I will look forward to seeing you on the other side.